Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains, and thanks for joining me for another video. In this video, we're going to handle the rolled roofing on top of our gas station. This is actually the end result. I just thought I would show things a little bit out of order, just to show you what the end result's going to be. So, why don't we go on to the workbench, and I'll show you how I got all this done. Alright, so let's get this roof done. We're going to do the rolled roofing, and let me show you what I've done already. First of all, this is the roof panel that's going to go on the roof. Okay, and if you look at it, I've already gone and I've lined out the whole roof. Now all these lines are at an 1/8 inch apart, which is about a 1.5 foot, I believe. So I went on my scale ruler, and I got out my regular ruler here, and what I've done is I went on here. So a roll of roofing is 3 feet wide, 3 feet wide by 36 feet long. So knowing that, what I was able to do is I was able to go onto the scale ruler. So 3 feet wide is right here. So you got 1, 2, 3 feet. So from here to here. And that ends up being about 3/16 of an inch wide. Okay? So knowing that, and then 36 feet is to right here. So going from there is about 2 3/4 of an inch long. So we're talking 3/16 wide by 2 3/4 long. Gives us a strip like that. That's a full roll, scale roll of tar paper, okay, or rolled roofing. Now I looked at the reveal, and they say that the exposed part should be about 18 inches, which is about 1.5 feet. So this line plus this center line is right there. That's about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so what I did was I lined the roof here to 1/8 of an inch all the way across. So at 1/8 inch increments, this is lined. Okay, now the roofing on the building is going to go this way. I was going to do it this way, but for myself and the use of being able to cut these strips, and I didn't want to have seams going across, because obviously this strip isn't going to reach, right? So it goes about to there. We don't have the full length, so I'd have to put another seam here, and then you'd want to stagger those. It's just too much thinking. I don't want to go that far. So I run it this way, and then we got one roll of roofing covers the whole roof. Okay, so that's my thinking for going this way. Maybe it's not accurate to what's real, but it's real in my world. So this is how I'm going to do it. So now that I have this roof lined off, so they're saying 18 inches of exposed with 6 inches of overlap. Okay, so to 36 inches. So we come up with this. Now what I'm going to do, oh, in this paper, by the way, this is vellum paper. Alright, I'll put a link to what I'm using under the video, but this is just a sheet of vellum paper. I use it for sometimes for interiors and things in there. And these are all the strips that I've cut. See, I have a whole bunch of them, and they're all the same. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some white glue, and have a small cup, and I'm going to put some glue in the bottom of the cup. Okay, and we'll throw that to the side. And now I have a brush, and I'm going to get some tweezers. Okay, so our first line is right here. So what I'm going to do I'm going to dip the brush in the glue, and I'm going to cover up to the first line like this. And then we're going to take our first piece of this vellum paper, and I'm going to line it up to that first line all the way across. Like that. And then I want to press this down so that it's secured all the way across. Okay. I'm going to hit the glue again, and then we're going to go to the next line, and then we're going to cover some of the paper on this side. And then again, just a little bit of the paper so that the glue will stick the roofing to the sheet before it. Like that. Take our next piece, and we're going to go right up to that line like that. And then we're going to seal that one down, same as we did the first one. And then we're just going to continue down through the whole thing. And the important thing is you just want to make sure that the strips are following your line so everything runs on a nice straight edge. Okay, so here's our roof. All the pieces are on. And now I'm going to let this whole thing dry. So this is what we end up with. Alright. So I'm just going to continue pushing this down, making sure it's good and stuck like this. Then we're going to let it dry, and then when I come back after it's dry, I'm going to trim off these edges. Now I'm not doing this in place on the building because the building's just too small. There's just no room to work in there. It's much easier to do it out here. Then I can paint it in my spray booth, and I can weather it out here and then drop it in the building, and I don't have to worry about making a mess of the walls in the building. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours before I come back. I want to make sure it's good and solid. Alright. So when we come back, we'll start the next step of this. Alright, so now we're back. I've let this dry, and let me just say it's been a couple of days. It's been a busy few days here, so this has been sitting for a little while, and it's totally dry. I'm trying to remember back. I believe I told you what I did was I measured in like I want to say like 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little less, a little over 1/16, and I drew a line straight across all the way around by that same margin, and then I laid more of the vellum paper straight across in a straight line going against this on both sides, and then one on each end. That's going to mimic the hopefully the idea is that'll mimic the flashing that's going to go up the side of the building. Okay, and then I went back after that and I flipped it over to this side, and what I've done was I took a piece of I took actually my ruler, my end scale ruler, because it's nice and thin here, and what I did was I took that and I put it up against the side of the styrene here, and then I drew a pencil line down, and I did that all the way around, and that's going to give us our flashing edge that's going to go up the sides. So let's see if you can see that here. Yeah, so there's the line that I traced from the ruler, and then on this side you can see the line that I ran the flashing all the way around the whole thing. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the ruler, my scissors here, and I'm going to cut along the line that I drew on the outside edge. So now we're left with this, and you can see the overhang on here all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to lay it on top right along the edge. I'm going to pull it right up on the edge here. I'm going to hold up the light so I can see through it like this, and I'm going to use that as an edge to bend this edge right up straight. So now we're bent over even to the edge of the styrene here, and we're straight up edge. And then when we set this in, we can push this back with a little bit of CA on the back side and just push it back into the wall, and then that'll be done. So we end up like this. You can see a nice straight edge going up, and that's going to ride up the walls like that, and we're even to the back side. And I'm going to do this on the other three sides all the way around, and then we'll take this into the paint booth and we'll get this painted. So let me get these all bent up, and then we'll come back and we'll hit the paint booth. Alright, so I have my airbrush here. I'm just going to dump this paint into the cup. And we're going to spray. So on this, I'm just going to do like dry coats on it. I don't want it to be saturated with paint. We're going to do dry coats. It's going to be several coats. And then we're going to call it done. So I'm going to turn on my booth now so I can have some light in here, and then we'll start spraying. Alright, so that's it. That's our tarred roof. So let me get this back on the bench and we'll take a look at it there. Alright, so here we are on the bench, and it's mostly dry now, and you can kind of see you can see the lines of the tar paper, right? And you can see how we folded up the sides, and it doesn't look too bad right now. I think we're okay. This now, on the other hand, needs a little bit of weathering so we can define these strips just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush this with some white. So let me get some white paint, and I'm just going to use acrylic paint. So this is just Walmart paint. It's nothing fancy, nothing crazy. And I use this paint because it's easier for me. That's just what I'm used to dry brushing with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this. We don't need a lot. Whoa, way too much. Okay, so we have a little bit of white paint here. I'm going to get a brush. I need a nice soft brush. Here, we'll try this brush. Okay, so I'm going to put the paint in the brush, or brush in the paint. I'm going to get it nice and wet, and then I'm going to get another piece of paper, and I'm just going to wipe off most of this paint. Alright, so we have our wet paint here. This is what we're using to wipe off on. So I just want a little bit of paint. I want most of it gone. And we're just going to brush. I'm going to brush with the grain of the paper. We're going to go this way. See, I've got too much on there still. And we're just going to keep going at it. Oh dear, I don't like this brush. Like this. And I'm not going to go any further with that. Now we're going to get the powders out. So we have the pan pastels here. And we're going to hit this with some of that. I want the darker colors out of here. And we'll use this color here. It's kind of a greenish color. We'll take a little bit of that. What else we got in here? Alright, these two. So we'll stay in the realm of these two. You get a sponge. And then we're going to change some coloring in here. We'll take this and we'll hit this like this. And we're just going to dirty that up a little bit. And then we'll hit some of this other color. Like that. And then on top of that, I have this liquid age stuff. And I'm going to go more than I want to do because I'm going to flat coat this. We want to get rid of that shine that's on there. So I have to go further than I want to go because the flat coat will cut down the powder. And I'm just going to drop this in different places and let it do what it's going to do. Like that. Alright, and we're going to leave that like that. I'm just kind of trying to make just a big mess of things. And that's what we want to do. So now we'll let that dry. And then I'm going to hit it with the powders again. Actually, we take another sponge. Let's take some of this light powder. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this with a little bit of black. Now this is different. This isn't weathering powder. What these are chalk. I bought artist chalks and I ground them up into a powder. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to grind that in like this. And we'll dump the extra in the garbage can. And there you go. That's our roof. I think we're looking pretty good. I think I like it. Like that. Yeah, it's a little hard to see. But there you go. That's going to be the roof. And if I go and hit this with some clear flat to seal all of it, this is gonna some of this weathering will kind of go away. It'll cut it down. So you want to go, if you're going to clear coat it, you want to go further than you need to be. At least that's been my experience with these things. So now I'm just going to run over to the spray booth again. I'm going to hit this with a coat of clear, and then we can, when that full dries, we can flip this over and start with the lighting on it. So let me get that done. I'm not going to film it. You saw how I sprayed this. It's just a straight clear coat. I'm not going to do anything else to it. Okay, so here's our roof, all done. The white patches were purposely. That's where the sun would have bleached if there was water left on the roof or something. We want to make it look like it's been there for a while. So this is now done. So before we install this onto the building, we have to add the lighting to this side. So let's get that started. This should go fairly quick. We're going to go back to these LED strips, and I'm going to cut off a length of lights because I want it to be even all the way across. So looking at this, I've got 1, 2, 3 sets of 3. So I'm going to cut off this last one here. Just like that. And that's all we need. So this I'm just going to center up. We want it to one side. So if this is the front, we're going to push it up to the front here. So let's glue this down. So I'm just going to stick this right to the, just off-centered. It's going to go this way. So when we get our building, yeah, so we have our building, we're going to go this way. Like this. This is the side we're going to mount the wires to. So this will sit in there like that. Alright, so let's start the wiring on this. And we're just going to hit the ends of these with a little bit of solder. I'm going to add a little bit of solder to the pads here. Okay, so put the power to it, and there's our building with the interior. So now it's like really super bright, okay? But it's all there and it's working, okay? So now what we need to do is dim these lights down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out some resistors, and we're going to see what we need to do to get that down. Now, from my own experience, I'm pretty sure this 4.7K ohm resistor should do the trick. Let's get one of these out. We're at 12 volts. There's 4.7. Let's add a resistor to this side. And I'm thinking that's going to do it. So, oh my God. So there you go. Now you can see inside and it's not super bright. Let me cut down some of these other lights. There. See, now you can see how bright that really is. It's bright enough to see, but not so bright that it's drowning everything out. And that's how we're going to end with this. So now this is done. And I think it came out pretty good. Let me set this up with the gas pumps on a board so you can get a look at the whole thing together and see the effect of what we got going on. Alright, so there it is, all hooked up. And that's kind of the lighting levels that are going to show up on the layout. You can see the lighting from the pumps themselves. You can see the lighting from the building. I think it all looks really good, and I think we're going to roll with it. So that's it for this building. The next project I'm going to do is going to be another building. We're going to do a couple of building series, only because I'm building I want to get all the buildings for this town rebuild, city rebuild completed, so that when we go downstairs, that part of it will be all about installing everything. So the next one we're going to do, I'm going to do a used car dealer that's going to go with the strip mall, on the side of the strip mall. So that's going to be the next building, and that's going to be kind of a really big, more of a kit bash kind of thing. So stay tuned next week for that, and we'll get that started. If you're just finding me for the first time, please, by all means, subscribe to the channel. Love to have you along for the ride. Lots of stuff going on. Love to have you following what I'm doing. If you haven't, as of yet, visited my website, it's mikestrains.wordpress.com. There you can see more pictures of my layout. You can see the train station I've built. If you haven't seen the videos for it, there are photos of it, and my roundhouse, and a lot of the other parts of the layout that some of them have been redone. There's a whole lot of them that haven't been, and we'll be getting to all of them in the videos. So, you know, give it a shot, see what you like. So until next week, happy modeling.